looking dapper.
I don't think I'm going to move necessarily straight away to say, voices of Norat, stay out. But rather, in effect, I'm claiming this for Tunon. And as an extension of my role as Fatebinder. So you do, though I fear that words carry more weight in Tunon's court than they do here. The fifth eye draws his sleeve across the nose of his mask in a childlike fashion. I'm sure the voices of Norat will know your every thought when he devours your mind, but I'd be happy to deliver any passing words from the wicked, treacherous Fatebinder in the meantime. He glances around, assuming I can leave this elevated prison. Am I about to throw him off the spire? Is that this option? Is this going to be a "This is Sparta"? Boom. Off the spire. Go through the portal and send the voices of Norat my message. I don't think that my character would necessarily just murder the fifth eye. But I am super curious if this is a Sparta moment or not. I've betrayed the Alliance because I feel that the voices of Norat was possibly working against the interests of Kairos. At the very least, he was working against, or rather to frustrate Graven Ash's plans. I'm not sure what to think of Graven Ash, but for the time being, I suspect Graven Ash is loyal to Kairos. Either way, though, loyalty or not, they were completely ineffective in doing what they were sent here to do, and that's why the edict was set in motion. Killing the fifth eye does nothing but frustrate the voices of Norat. I don't need to do that. No, Hunter Delta, I'm not gonna be picking options and then reloading to see what they do. That's for another run. This is not something that I'm gonna do in this run. He did threaten me, though. I'm gonna let him leave. I don't see. I as much as I could justify the betrayal, I don't think I can justify just killing the fifth eye. My character doesn't want a war with Norat, just doesn't feel that Norat is capable of doing what needs to be done. Norat is still an Archon in the service of Kairos. So go through that portal and send the voices of Norat my message. No telling how stable it is, but look closely and you'll see an image of Ascension Hall in the haze. Well, if you have trained eye, that is. Of course, even if it's not stable, the alternative is jumping, so what do we have to lose? Ah, yes. The fifth eye taps his mask in a semblance of deep thought. The currents of magic glow as fire to our eyes. Strange that you saw this first. I don't think the fifth eye saw it at all. Tell the voices of Norat to stay away from my spire. Tell the Archon that I am the superior foe. Tell the Archon that he should smile every once in a while. I don't think that's necessarily what I'm going to say. And yet, somehow, it feels kind of amusing to do. The way I see this, at the moment, I don't think my character is necessarily going to be in his A-game tactical mode. He just got teleported up a spire. Probably a little bit disoriented. So at this point, yeah, we could just go with whatever made him chuckle because his internal editing isn't in full blow. But tell him to stay away from my spire. Tell the Archon that I am the superior foe. I don't want to be a foe, necessarily. I'm going to go with one. That is really funny. No, I've already said that this is my code. I don't need to say it again. It should be implicit that the voices of Narat should stay away from the court. If anything, I think the voices of Narat may appreciate this more than anything. I'll just be teasing him in the same way that he teases Graven Ash, or maybe I'll just really annoy him. He might not like it when he gets teased, but either way, tell the Archon he should smile every once in a while. Oh, but he does. I'm positive he does. Nothing in the demeanor changes, but you get the distinct impression the fifth eye is grinning like a lunatic, and his smile will widen to encompass the tears when he gets his hands on you. He steps towards the shimmering portal, and then turns back at the last second, covering his eyes with both hands in a clownish manner. He opens them again, revealing his mask amid the storm of his wriggling fingers. He sees you. The final word on the matter spoken, the fifth eye backs into the shimmering portal and disappears. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot the Vendrian Guard captain bracing herself to stand, clutching her wounds and steadying her footwork against the high winds. One last task for you. Send a message down to the Archons for me. The parchment will survive the impact, I'm sure of it. No. No, I'm not going to kick anyone off, necessarily. I haven't forgotten you, Captain. Still alive. That can be solved. I haven't forgotten you, Captain. Nor did I expect you to. She peers out over the ledge. Let's get this over with, shall we? I really don't see any need to kill her, but she is an enemy. There's no way out of that. However, okay. Now, my character, if this was the favor, they'd summarily execute her. She's an oathbreaker. She lost any right to any kind of mercy when she broke the oath with Kairos, and that is the oath that they were going to surrender. So there's no potential, there's no real need for mercy at this point. There's no need for wickedness either, but there's no particular need to be merciful. I frankly don't necessarily believe they deserve it. They already broke their oath. As judge, however, as jury, as executioner, the question before us is, do you kill everyone for breaking the oath? Or can we allow them to redeem themselves? Also, what use is being a king if everyone in the kingdom is dead? The idea of capital punishment, as much as people seem to think that was all the rage in medieval times, it really wasn't. It was rehabilitation of a sort, through humiliation and mild torture. I say mild because getting being stuck in a donkey mask for a day, or being in the stocks and people throwing tomatoes at you and nonsense like that, or whatever, was probably physically arduous, but wasn't exactly, being stabbed by hot irons or, being twisted in a rack. No one got twisted in a rack for normal things, because it's like, well, why would I break the people who farm my wheat? That's dumb. There aren't enough people already. The ones that don't chop their hands off for stealing, just make them do extra hard work for a while. You didn't kill or maim your workers because then you didn't have workers, and without workers, well, the nobles weren't going to grow the bloody food. So there is a part of not wanting to just go around and kill people just because they're oath breakers. That doesn't serve any purpose. If there's no one left in the tiers, then what use is the tiers? Likewise, though, this is a leader, and one that very specifically wants to rise the rebellion. I feel that with this particular thing, you make examples of the people in charge. That way, other people aren't so quick to rise up to be the leaders of the rebellion. They might have rebellious thoughts, but if there's no leaders, then the rebellion doesn't really amount to much. And that was echoed many times historically. In British history, at the very least. There were plenty of times where open rebellion was had, and the king would basically, yeah, okay, I guess I see your point. You know, and then the leaders of the rebellion would go off with this idea that, we've brokered some sort of better conditions for us. And then the king would just send out his armed forces once the leaders had left the camp and just murder them all on the road. Honorable? Not even slightly. Effective? 100%. When all of the other people saw, oh, right, so the people who say they're in charge get just brutally murdered, and everyone else gets sent back to their work. Yeah, you know what? If someone else wants to lead the way, I'll follow them again. But me take the lead? No. I'm good. Thanks. Thank you very much, Nia for the 52nd month. My lord, 52 months? I thought my oldest sub was like 43. Oh my god, that just blows my mind. 52 months. People at TwitchCon were asking me, how long have you been streaming? And I was like, I think my oldest sub is like 43 months. So that long. Or at least that long that I've been partnered. But my lord, I'm going to have to adjust that a little bit. I don't particularly think that I'm looking to gain favour with the Guard. That being said, being an unjust ruler, I don't think that's in Kairos' nature. Kairos is actually bringing order, or at least so far as my character believes. I did not say that this person was going to live. Again, with the whole example of the kings, that was more just showing that you cut the head off the snake kind of withers, and then, you know, no one is very eager to be a leader when leaders are constantly being murdered. It was a particularly egregious example because, like I said, it was very dishonorable, but it got the job done. But what I'm saying here is that this person is already an oathbreaker. They already broke their vow, so executing them would not necessarily be an issue. It would just send a message. It would probably make the Tearsmen hate us even more. Let's see. Yeah. Killing leaders does sometimes make martyrs of them. That's true, though not nearly as commonly as you might imagine. I'll be honest. It does happen occasionally, and this might be a good example of that, where it's particularly rough. But this is a soldier. No, I don't. She already broke her oath. I don't think she is going to be given mercy. But we're not necessarily going to do the whole Sparta thing. That's cruel for the sake of it. I'm going to execute her. Wounded and weary, Captain Tarkus Ari offers no resistance. With a single stroke, you put the battered warrior to rest. She died by the blade. It was an honourable death. Goodbye, my friend. Ed nods slowly, looking to Ari's corpse. So ends one of the finest patriots of Apex. She clears her throat and turns to you with a forced smile. I trust I'm next? Not necessarily, actually. Oh, that's interesting. I lost a lot of loyalty, probably, but no doubt I'm the very definition of an enemy of the Overlord. I didn't just resist, I led others into resistance. So I know what's about to happen. But I know when I've met my match, and like most folk, I'll do whatever it takes to live. If you will show me mercy, I will pledge my life to you, good Fatebinder. Oh, well, that's a little bit of a different response. It's not happening, Max. Not even slightly. Not once. It would be an impactful point. Yes, I guess so. It would have been, but no. The Tidecaster bows on one knee, lowering her gaze. I know I'm an oathbreaker, so my word isn't what it used to be. But I promise, if you spare me, I will serve you well. If I let you live, I'll regret it, won't I? Possibly. Serve me well and all can be forgiven. Well, I mean, I'm not the one necessary to forgive, but as long as you make yourself useful to Kairos, then Again, that's the whole point. I executed the leader to make a point. Executing everyone, especially useful ones, doesn't make a point. You don't kill the miller, you don't kill the smith. Even if the smith is really, really a pain in the backside, it is a very useful profession to have in your fiefdom. You don't execute the son of the smith, the wife of the smith. You don't generally do that to the smith, because the smith is making the swords for your army. You punish them in different ways. You don't let them get out of hand. You've got to let them know who's in control, but at the same time, you don't waste a valuable resource. If she serves me well, then she will redeem herself. If you will have my fealty, it is yours. I, Ebb of the Tidecasters, do hereby pledge my life and loyalty to Aavak. She dips in a formal bow. I will serve and obey so long as you have need or want of my skills. Okay. Oh, we've got loyalty one, straight up. I suppose, giving someone their life back does kind of help. All right. What level are you? You're level 5. I kind of like Barrack. Barrack is turning into an amazing tank right now. Lantry, though, is pretty awesome. I'm going to just leave it as this for now. But that is quite an interesting one. Vendrin's Well has fallen for the second time since the conquest began, but not in any way that Kairos' forces could have anticipated. You claimed Ascension Hall for yourself, startling your Scarlet Chorus allies and throwing the battle into disarray. While the Voices of Narat is amused by your foolhardy stunt, that won't stop him from killing you over it. Though you stepped out from under the Overlord's shadow, you nevertheless satisfied the terms of the edict, removing the death sentence from everyone in the valley. No sooner had this peace settled than a new danger eclipsed it: the civil war between Kairos' forces. With the threat of execution no longer looming overhead, the Overlord's armies turned their attention away from the Citadel and toward each other. The tension that flared over the long siege reached an explosive crescendo as the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus armies clashed iron and bronze in a hasty, disorganized battle. The Voices of Narat and his officers escaped to the Stone Sea, leaving their conscript army to carry on their fight against the disfavored. Before the conflict could claim further lives, Graven Ash and his disfavored legion broke camp and withdrew to their fortress in the Blade Grave. Both armies turned their backs to the Spire, your new, unassailable seat of power. You can feel the Archon's boiling hatred from the pinnacle. As days passed, the wounded and injured were nursed to health. You explored your strange bastion and planned your next steps with careful deliberation. As word spread that the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored turned on each other, factions once resolved to bend the knee are inspired instead to continue fighting. The Archon's feud has heralded the collapse of Kairos' offensive. Oh dear. This is why I didn't let them take control. Tunon, the Archon of Justice, observes the chaos and discord spreading across the land. The Archon summons his Fatebinder to return to the court of the Bastard City and report on his actions in Vendrin's Well. Okay. I'm going back to my boss. Uh-oh. From the top of the spire, you can make out the distant features of Vendrin's Well and the mountains beyond. A few vague, twisted lines of purple and red show the retreat of Kairos' forces. Safe to say your Lord Tunon will want to hear what's transpired. Tempted, but I like Lantry a bit too much. Noted. I should make haste to the Bastard City. Named for its position between two realms, the Northern Empire and the Southern Tiers, the Bastard City and its surrounding lands known as the Bastard Tier is a melting pot of cultures and a place of commerce and intrigue. I've read it before. Wow. Their body was just held in place for a long time. The dizzying energy from the spire falters. Whatever force awoken the powers that reside here gutters and fades, though a faint hum persists in the sculpture at the center. The humming from this curious sculpture pulses and builds in volume, as if to draw your attention. Oh. Hello. Heavy armor. I'll take. Sure. Vendring Guard, Wrath ability, drain strength. You acquired Mountain Spire. Your power has increased. How marvelous. I approve. New quest, Stirring Visions. Interact with the Spire device. This game is taking me in a direction I really was not expecting, even slightly, and I am so pleased with this. Oh my lord, everyone. Oh my lord. Right, well, Barak, you are basically my tank, so I would like you to be a little bit more buffed there. And then talents-wise. Requires 3 talent points. Further increase the number of enemies the Barak can engage. See, being able to engage 3 people is perfect. Defensive benefits from a shield. Barak and nearby party members take reduced damage. Fight defensively, gaining a bonus armor. See, those would be really nice. Not sure. I think getting the stance phalanx, and then maybe picking up shield wall later on. Turning Barak into a real tank would be a good one. Okay, let's grab that for now. There we are. So we've got a phalanx. Journal. Okay, stirring visions. Whatever you did in Ascension Hall in Vendrin's Well has given you the power to interact with the Spire. Before you ascend the Spire, you had a vision when the edict broke. Understanding this vision might help you better grasp the new power you have acquired. The teleporter that brought you to the top of the mountain Spire at Vendrin's Well has shut off and left you stranded atop the pillar. Perhaps the strange device at its center might hold the key to activating it once again. Okay, reputation. Okay, absolute wrath with the Vendrian Guard. Okay. So, unnerving presence and drain strength. Drain 2 resolve, 2 finesse, and 2 might. Siphon might, finesse, and resolve from enemies in a cone and channel it back to you for a brief time. Okay. Interesting ones there. Scarlet Chorus. We're almost at 2 wrath. No favor with them anymore. Disfavored. Almost at 3 wrath. Stone Stalker Tribe. Okay, well, we've got a bit of favor with them. Companions-wise, we're getting there. The Lantry. Verse is still one of the only people. You need a reputation change of a major strength to unlock this tier. Oh, okay. Interesting. Ebb. You know, it's there. Sirin. Apparently Sirin just generally likes us. And as for the Archons... I mean, I don't think they're ever going to like me. Though the chorus, not quite... Oh, actually, sorry, the voice of Norad. Bled and Mark... I don't even know who Bled and Mark is, but apparently they are pleased with my sly ways. Oh, well. I did favor Sirin during the conquest, yeah. Mysterious device. The ancient device perched atop the mountain spire in Vendrin's Well is the product of a forgotten age. It is uncertain what function it once had, or if it can be used again. Resting in any spire grants a bonus to all skills. Oh, okay. I can do things. Okay, I'll have a look at that later, I think. For now, though, oh my lord. So many things. Everyone wants to talk to me rather badly. You know what, though? First and foremost, save the cave. As the saying goes. Hashtag save the cave. Or exclamation mark save the cave. I actually think it is a command. Mostly used by Belial to make sure that I don't do something dumb. Okay. And now... save the cave isn't a command. Damn it. What is the command? I know it's there in somewhere. Let's speak with Lantry.
At least in theory... I'm supposed to be observing history and not getting myself wrapped into it. All the same, this is the thrill of a lifetime. Rarely does one stand so close to monumental moments in the making.
I'm glad you're having fun, Lantry. Truly I am.
You've made a lot of enemies during the Battle of Vendrian.
Please don't remind me.
If the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus stop fighting each other, one or both might get the notion to crush you underfoot.
That is not pleasing to me.
There is hardly any opposition to Kairos left in the tiers. Yet this civil war forestalls any formal close to this conquest. I can't imagine the Overlord is amused by these recent events.
No, I imagine not. Dismissed companions. Once a character has been dismissed from the party, they will return to either their war camp or the Spire if you've unlocked it. Oh, okay. You have acquired your first Spire. My first? I can have more? Wow. The Spire will be your home base as your adventure through the lands of Kairos tears. Your Spire gives you free location to rest and recover from your travels. As you acquire more Spires, you will discover additional functionality. Click on the Spire icon to open your home base and interact with it. Ending Kairos Edict on Vendrian's Well filled you with a great deal of power. This will undoubtedly prove useful as you travel through the tiers. You should investigate the origins of this power and find ways to acquire more. A new bar on the character sheet displays the current level of power. Press C to open your character sheet to view more of your current... What? I've got a power level? My lord. I think the game accidentally gave me a spoiler. Damn it, game. Okay, the Archons have their little squabble. With any luck, they'll destroy each other and do us all the favour. No doubt this is all part of Kairos' plan, attempts to decide whether Graven Ash or Voisin should rule. Civil War was an opportunity to bury both the Archons. They've signed their own death warrants. I think the Overlord is waiting for someone strong to take charge. That will be me. This last option, as much as, again, clear silently, I'm going to have to... There's going to have to be at least like 3 or 4 playthroughs of this game for me to get my fill of all the possible ways I could play it. And again, just to touch on this, thank you so much, everyone, for not spoiling things for me. Because if people... Like, this is why I'm not saving and reloading just to check out all of the options. Because that would mean that there's no point in me playing it again. Whereas if I don't do that, then I could have potentially dozens of playthroughs that would all be interesting because I could just try out different sets of options, different kinds of characters, different paths through the game. There's at least, as far as I can tell, 2 ways of playing this game right up to this point. And now there's like another one on top. And there's another run that I'm going to want to do beside that one where I'm just going to glare silently at everyone. It's like, it's just spiraling out of control, but it's so much fun. I think the Overlord is waiting for someone strong to take charge. That will be me. This makes sense because of my being brought up by beastmen.
A very bold sentiment. But you are correct. The Overlord puts great stock in those with initiative and strength. Why else would Kairos keep around a henchman like the voices of Narad?
That does make sense.
Think of it this way. You took control of Vendrian's Well, angered the Archons, and Kairos hasn't killed you yet. Given how the Overlord works, I'd say your continued existence is an argument that you have Kairos' tacit approval.
That is a very good point. Lantry, as ever, you see to the heart of things. This is actually the first time you've seen to the heart of anything that I am aware of, but I imagine this is normal for you.
Whatever you do next, consider that many eyes will be upon you, for you have both delivered and taken away the Overlord's edicts, and few will know how to make sense of the latter. You are an exception the Archons cannot afford to ignore. They will likely aim to control or destroy you.
Have you heard of edicts being broken before?
Most of Kairos' edicts were either worded to end in a manner of the Overlord's choosing, or the edicts have simply continued in perpetuity. That's not to say there haven't been stories of broken edicts. They're just uncommon. The oldest is, I think, Golbraith and the Edict of Sorrows, and that tale dates back to around the year 110. Aside from you, the most recent was the Edict of Twisting Grasses, back in 380.
I think this is like, that's 40, 50 years ago?
In all these stories, Kairos' edict very clearly gives its victim a single way to escape, and someone manages it. What's never happened is the pure abatement of an edict, like using a spell of warding or cancellation.
Okay. Well, have a moment. I'd like to talk further. So what's on your mind? Do you want to discuss matters of the present, or would you prefer a more scholarly rant? Actually, let's discuss current matters.
Of course. How can I help?
Do you know anything about the region we're in?
The Spires predate us all. As far as I know, we're the only ones who've been up here since... ever?
Okay.
I think this might be a first. Perhaps the real Trailblazer had trouble getting down and was lost to history.
That could absolutely be true, yes. It does seem to be a long way down.
Of course. How can I help?
What are your thoughts on our traveling associates?
Are you asking for an objective assessment? Or is this your way of saying you want to gossip?
I mean, do I need to answer this truth? Barak, what do you make of him?
You must have some leverage over him, as I would have thought he'd lead us into a disfavored trap long ago. Or maybe the Legion is just that polite? I must admit, I am completely fascinated by his predicament. Ever tried diagramming the articulations of his armor? Don't. It'll only lead to madness and ruination.
Okay. Thoughts on this?
I know little of swordplay, and couldn't work a curve and arrow to save my life. I can't really comment on the lady.
Fair enough, Landry. That's quite a polite way of saying that.
Lady, you're just afraid to talk in front of me, clear as day. Your sweat is easier to read than your ink scribbles.
Wow, verse. Maybe I should compliment you on cutting to the heart of things.
No, not at all. I just don't know how to comment on a warrior's worth, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Spare me your blather.
Verse pauses to read Landry's body language.
Huh. Think that, do you? Didn't know you had such swollen hope for me.
What? I mean... Yeah, At this point, I just want to extricate myself from this conversation. Partly to save Landry any further bother, partly to just not have to listen to what comes next. This is absolutely an abandoned ship moment, but it doesn't seem I have that option. Where is my glare silently when I need it? No need to keep secrets, Landry.
A most fascinating person.
Okay.
I think she has great potential. A dangerous amount of potential, to be blunt. The Scarlet Furies are the fighting elite of the Scarlet Chorus, and that means floating to the top of a sea of blood and chum.
Floating to the top of a sea of blood and chum. What a delightful image you paint with your words.
We should consider ourselves lucky to have her on our side, with her weapons usually pointed away from us.
That's good. I'm very glad that Ebb is in on this, because I was worried that she might not be a part of this conversation, given that she isn't in the party.
Good tidecasters stay underwater. Kairos did the Tears a favor by erasing those moon howlers from history. A shame one of them escaped justice.
Wow. Landry.
I like that I make you this agitated. Considering all the things that don't seem to bother you in the slightest. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of getting off on how much power you're giving me here.
Well.
Oh, and then there's your coquettish act whenever someone calls you on your teeth. I'll be the one ready to tangle when, not if, you decide to pounce.
Wow. When did Landry suddenly become Master Yoshi? Roshi? Oh my god. Let's speak of something. I think, yeah, let's move on. My lord. Shut up. Yes, I said Master Yoshi first. Just erase it from your minds. This will never be spoken of again. Don't you dare clip it, Leafin, or I'll clip you. Many a Leafin needs pruning right now, it seems. So, what's on your mind? I have some questions for you.
I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss?
Well, I'd like to discuss arcane matters.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
FBQC asks, why Tyranny? Did they announce Tyranny 2? No, I'm just playing it for the first time. It's been a long time, and I decided, you know what? I want to actually sit down and stream a CRPG and just play it, start to finish. It doesn't work out so well if I'm just recording it for YouTube. But I'm experimenting with this. I'm just going to play it straight up to its end on stream. I tried with Mass Effect, and I do intend to go back to Mass Effect 2, but I'm trying to be a little bit more... how to put it? I'm trying to be a little bit more focused on just the streaming of it. With Mass Effect, I was specifically streaming it as a way of uploading it to the channel. But with this, I'm just streaming it. And the uploading to the channel is more a consequence of people being interested rather than that being my plan, if you like. So we'll see how things go. Okay, what do you know of Kairos Edicts? What do you know of the magic of the Archons? Well, I would like to learn how to heal. But tell me about Kairos' Edicts, because I'm actually quite interested in this. Thank you very much for the resub, Whitehammer. 9 months in a row, my lord. Kairos has cast many over the ages, and to my knowledge, has never worded 2 edicts exactly the same. Edicts defy our understanding of magic. Kairos' magic works over vast distances, over indefinite durations, and no Archon or mere mage can counter the force of an edict. Okay, what can you tell me of edicts in general? I explain it to my students like this. A spell is to an edict as a drop of rain is to a hurricane. Edicts and spells are both magical cantrips, but differ in intensity by orders of magnitude. Edicts are almost commands to Taratas that must be carried out until the instructions allow for the magic to end. If Kairos wants a plague until next Judge's Day, expect copious buboes until next Judge's Day. Nothing has ever dispelled an edict. Nothing outside of the edict's own sunset clause, as I like to think of them. Okay, I'm curious about a specific edict. Of course, ask away. Okay, Oh, well, I was hoping that we could get some details on the edicts that were already mentioned. Any thoughts on the Edict of Execution cast on Vendrian's Valley? It seems like the Archons were about to kill each other, and the threat of mutual destruction was about all Kairos had left. I imagine fear is the only way to get someone like the Voices of Narat to follow orders, and the Edict certainly did whip them into action. And what of the Edict of Stone? The Edict of Stone ravaged the realm of Azure. The upheaval of earth and rock turned the rolling plains into a craggy steep known as the Stone Sea. Since the edict was directed at the traitorous Archon of Stone, it would seem the upheaval of Azure was secondary consequence, though I imagine little of what Kairos does is unintentional. And what of the Edict of Fire? I know that you warned us. I'm alive today because of you, as are so many of my brothers and sisters. And I'm most certain you were not ordered to warn us, so all the more reason to honor your decision. Lantry bows deeply, his face blushing when he returns to standing. Oh, well. That was unnecessary, but appreciated. I wasn't told to do it, so never forget how much risk I took. But, no, I'm going to go with the humane thing. I didn't need to warn them, but I wasn't told not to. So at that point, I was able to make my own decision. I was given leave to do so, you could say. Given the destruction involved, the warning seemed the humane thing to do. A most noble sentiment. The edict has its intended effect. It crushed the will of the school and scattered the sages to the wind. I'm glad it brought an end to the conflict, and, thanks to your warning, without further loss of life. Of course. Let's go away. What about the Edict of Storms? The Edict of Storms turned the once forested land of Stalwart into a wind-swept wasteland. They call it the Blade Grave now. Since only the iron and bronze armaments remain, hurricane breezes, rust winds, and relentless lightning have destroyed the housing and farmland. Let's speak of something else. That was actually pretty cool. I hope no one minds me taking so much time to speak with Lantry, but Lantry is quite fascinating. We haven't really spoken with him at much length before. Kairos has cast many over the ages, and blah, blah, blah. Do edicts work on the same arcane principles as spellcraft and other magics? I think we more or less have that, though maybe there's something to learn here. So, sure, we're interested.
Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even Archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I can now. I think he's dead, is he not?
Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little, or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter.
Oh, I see. Perhaps the intelligentsia are a little jealous of your observations. Fine. I'll take the bait. What's your conjecture about edicts?
So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense.
Oh, okay.
Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time.
Oh, so as if speaking about them, or rather reporting about them, increases their effect. And edicts never seem to vanish over time.
Never. The only time history knows of edicts ending is when someone answers the commandments put forth in the original proclamation. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit.
That's interesting. Or edicts just feed off the landscape once set in motion. Look at what became of the Azura and Stalwart. What have others said of this theory of yours? I don't feel that my character is necessarily learned enough. He's not a scholar. Although he has trained to learn magic and how to cast, and is quite, in fact, is actually got higher law than Lantry, technically. I don't feel that it's like a bookish law. He's got a flexible mind, sharp, but not necessarily steeped in book lore, if you like. So I'm not going to go with either of these. I don't think my character would necessarily posit their own ideas of the theory, but I am very curious in what others are thinking of.
The other sages have had little to comment on the subject. Most found the study of Kairos to be bad luck for whatever reason.
I mean...
Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. Anyway, another study for another time.
Well, let's speak of something else then.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
Well, what do you know of the magic of the Archons? I've studied many of the Archons for many years. Compared to other sages, I'm an expert on the subject, which is sad, because I feel like I've still so much to learn. Well, how does the magic of the Archons work? The Archons all have a magical power that are intuitive. When the voice of Norat pulls out someone's mind or Graven Ash protects his soldiers, that magic isn't a signed spell or ritual. To them, it's closer to flexing one's hand. Archons are the... what's the word for it? Axiom of magic, the root of magic, spell pioneers. Let's have a look at this. Lord, while every guild or school of magic will ascribe different name to the theory, all mages inevitably stumble upon the inescapable fact only the Archons can will magic into being. Everyone else can only cast magic by invoking the sigil of an Archon that has come before. None know how the Archons do their magic. It seems to be different with each Archon. But the theory suggests that once an Archon starts to invoke their powers, anyone else who comes after that Archon could, with the proper knowledge, tap into that power with the proper sigil and know-how. This observed law has given rise to a common question from young students. Could one guess at a sigil of an Archon not yet born, or not remembered by history, or simply unknown to the caster, and successfully cast a spell? Experienced mystics would tell you this is impossible, for they know that it's not enough to just mimic the gesture of a sigil. One must have willful, conscious knowledge of the Archon and the intended power being channeled. I'm sure this analogy is off in many ways, but I see Archons as the mothers of original magic and everyone else is just imitating them. To confuse things a bit, some Archons learn to cast other spells in the same fashion as us lesser mages. If you are as important as an Archon, you learn quick that all knowledge is power. I've studied many of the Archons for many years. Are all Archons loyal to Kairos? I don't think so, because Cain got killed, wasn't it? Officially, yes. In actuality, no. Those with the true gift for magic always come to the attention of Kairos. A few manage to evade attention for a bit. The School of Tides was founded by one such uncontrollable, but these are history's exceptions. Oculated Jade. Archon of Tides never bowed to Kairos, and it's said she survived the assassins sent to silence her. It makes her flight from Kairos before the war all the more troubling. We knew her as this symbol of strength, but when threatened, her weaker nature won. When we write biographies of the Archons, we often refer to them as exarchs in their formative years before stepping into the prime, but officially Kairos is supposed to grant all titles of Archon. It's quite the faux pas to self-appellate. Exactly why Jade insisted on calling herself Archon of Tides. She didn't need Kairos' approval to wear the title she deserves, and I know she loved the fact that doing so must have annoyed Kairos. Okay, well, fair enough. How is an Archon born? Or bred? Oh, that borders on a bit of a dark question, but I think we all dream one day of waking up and being an Archon. Given some of the madmen and loons that have exhibited mystical greatness, it can seem unfair that the rest of us can't do it. I can say with confidence, Archons aren't born. They become. Graven Ash is a good study of this. Before he was the Archon of War, he was a successful commander, each victory more daring and glorious than the next. Somewhere along the way, his leadership took on a mystical quality. The Graven Ash we know today can reach out and protect his soldiers from harm, but maybe at first he could just protect those near him. I wouldn't know for certain, but all will attest that he didn't have this power his whole life. That's very interesting. Okay, let's speak on something else.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.